I said, "Are you God?" And they said, "No, we seek to know God the same as you, but we could never share with you concept of God because it goes so much further beyond what it is that you're capable of understanding." So we are all crazy. Why is it the psychiatric community not labeled us certain psychiatric disorders? Why is it that if millions and millions and more millions all the time having these experiences and nobody from those positions of authority researching why these things are happening to us, there's not a stitch research on this by any formal authority out there. And then the big one, why they literally taking those people, grouping them together, trying to make them look crazy without any evidence whatsoever. And ask yourself, why is it that people who have had extraterrestrial contact, whether it was seeing a craft, seeing an orb, physical orb, not being abducted, taken at night or whenever, in all the different forms that they've come in, why is it that all of these people, after the experience, become fixated on being of service to others, to the planet, to nature, and to life itself? That is the biggest part of the entire phenomenon. They know what's going on. You have to trust that. They've had that information for thousands of years. Who are we to tell them any different? Prophecies are a guideline. And so there's a lot of information in terms of prophecies from different groups of people all over the world. What you, the person watching, what are we doing to create the world we want to live in? Why are you picking a side when you don't have the information of the other side?
Hey everyone, thank you for watching our episode today, our interview with Miriam Delicado, author of Blue Star Fulfilling Prophecy. What we're doing today is we're having a giveaway for this hard copy of her book, and the details is that you have to follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Cosmic Convergence Channel, which you're watching right now, and also to sign up for Miriam Delicado's newsletter. All you need to do is go ahead and, of course, click the subscribed button to our Cosmic Convergence channel, which you are watching right now. Our address is at Cosmic Convergence Channel, youtube.com. And the next thing you do is go ahead and take a screenshot of that, and then head over to Miriam Delicado's website, bluestarprophecy.com. And what you'll see is a tab there that says sign up to ask Miriam a question. You also have here for sign up. Let's go ahead and click on sign up to ask Miriam a question. Okay. And then that'll give you a subscription to Miriam's newsletter. Go ahead and sign up for the subscription to her newsletter, which will then take you to whatever email address that you use. Then you'll see this here from Miriam's website. And it'll also give you a free book download of it's a PDF copy of the exact hard copy that we're doing for the giveaway. So even if you don't win, you can still have a free PDF. And thank you for that very much, Miriam. We all appreciate that. Screenshot that, okay? Screenshot this, and then send both screenshots to cosmicgiveaway@gmail.com. And that's it. It's that simple. If you're already a subscriber to our channel, just go ahead and just take a screenshot already that you say that you're subscribed, that you've signed up for Miriam's newsletter, and then just take both those screenshots. Again, you want to send it to cosmicgiveaway@gmail.com. Good luck in getting your copy of Blue Star Fulfilling Prophecy. Great book. Thank you so much for writing it, Miriam. And we're really honored to be able to have this giveaway and to do the interview. And I hope that everybody enjoys it. Thank you so much. We appreciate each and every one of you. Have fun. Enjoy.
Given these warnings about the potential future, and they were given them so that they could protect life. So they know how everything works and when and if it's the right time to say anything or do anything. Okay. So it really needs to be understood that prophecies of indigenous people or ancient people, individuals themselves, are not set in stone. They are storylines let's call them timelines, they are potential events. And just like when I would get visions, for example, I had a vision of someone having a car accident, and they were coming down a mountain with a group of friends, and they had a massive car accident. He was thrown out of the car and became a quadriplegic. And I had this vision, and I went to this man and I said, "Are you going anywhere?" He's like, "No." I said, "Okay, great. Super." But then 3 days later, he said, "Oh, I'm gonna go skiing." And I said, "No, you can't." Told him what I saw and what had happened. And to me, and he said, "Well, should I not go?" And I said, "Listen, you can go, but you need to do this." And I gave him instructions. I said, "At some point in your day, you have to have it so that you're not thinking about this. And then it'll pop into your mind. And at that moment, I want you to stand there and not move for 3 minutes. Okay?" And he's like, "Why?" And I said, "Just do it. 3 minutes. That's it. You just need 3 minutes." He said, "Okay." Going into the car to come down the mountain from his friends from skiing, he turned around and he said, "I can't get in the car." They were, "Come on, like, let's go, let's go." He's like, "Ah." He waited 3 minutes. They were screaming at him. He almost got in the car because they were screaming at him, but he waited 3 minutes and he got in the car. Then he went down the mountain and there was a massive 6-car pileup
Mhm,
3 minutes in front of him.
mhm.
So the point that I'm making is this: stop looking at these prophecies as if this is what's going to happen. Thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking of them. What are we doing? I'm going to ask the 3 contactees. What are we doing by continuing to keep
You're
thinking?
manifesting.
Manifesting, yeah.
You're
Right.
manifesting,
So
sure.
why would it be right for any of these people, including the Hopi, to tell people these prophecies so that they could what? Manifest them,
No, this is a
Mm.
warning.
right? They are potential timelines and warnings. That's it. They are
Mhm.
guidelines for where it is that we happen to be at the time. So that's the story, okay?
Mhm.
And I hope that that's really that the audience hears that, so that they understand that anything that they're hearing is not
Set.
going to happen. Start thinking about what you want to create in the world. You want to create peace. You want to create, I mean, let's just like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
More of it, though, is not
let's
gonna hurt anything.
Yeah.
just sit and meditate and talk about love and talk about,
That's right.
beauty and talk about the world we want to see, and bring that into our thinking and our hearts and our minds and our bodies and our physical life. That is what we need to focus on. And so when people are talking about those kind of things, it really, what is it they're creating? Now there's a difference between educating yourself and then pushing it to create it. That other individual, for example, that was out in the public, they are no longer with us here on Earth. They've gone, passed on, putting out massive amounts of disinformation. Man, they were on like mainstream TV. They were big. Everybody listened to them because why not? There was so much of it that was wrong. It was incredible. And then what happens is someone, and I've seen this happen often, not just, I mean, with different with different indigenous people all over the world, is that an individual will come along and they'll say, "Yeah, this is what they should be doing. This is what they're supposed to do," on and on and on. And so that individual will basically say, "That elder over there is garbage because they're not doing what they want them to do. They're not, they demanded that they be told answers. They demanded that they do this or do that." Well, they're the ones with the information and the knowledge. Why would it be appropriate for anyone other than them who understands it fully to take over and do something with that information? It's like it's like a baker who bakes a cake. The baker has all of the ingredients. He knows every step to take. He knows that the humidity is gonna affect it, how long it's in the oven, what the heat is, when it goes into the oven. He knows all of that. The baker knows it all. And it's like someone walks in and says, "You didn't bake that darn cake." And it's like, yeah, because half the ingredients are missing, right?
Mhm.
So, how can you make the cake? That's what I kind of see in the world today in this genre of UFOs and UAPs, new name,
Yeah.
is that there's a lot of pieces that are missing, and people either fill in the blanks themselves, make up stories, or there are people who believe that they have a right to this information. And I've had people yell at me, like, I can't even tell you how many times, saying, "Those people, they need to talk, they need to." Well, they know what's going on. We have to trust that. And they've had that information for thousands of years. Who are we to tell
Right.
them any different? So, prophecies are a guide, right? And this is where we are right now. People have said, "Oh, in the book that I shared, things that I talked about, the time of insanity, that would be coming, and here we are, we're in a time of insanity on the planet."
Yes.
And so there's a lot of information in terms of prophecies from different groups of people all over the world, including the Bible, including, revelations that people are talking about. And it's great. But what are you, the person watching, what are we doing to create the world we want to live in? First thing that I would say is, I had a big discussion with someone just this morning about some of this. And I said, look, if you want to pick a side, you want to pick a side on something? Why are you picking a side instead of looking at for the truth in everything?
Mm.
Why are you picking a side when you don't have the information of the other side? Why are you picking a side? You don't understand the diabolical harm that this other side has done,
All the time.
right?
No, it's because people just, for some reason, they've just told themselves it's through others that are in power that they know what's in your best interest, and they will tell you what to believe, and you will believe that. We've interviewed people just like that here on the show. They think it's their duty to tell people what to believe, and that they will believe it because of how they manipulate it so that they will believe. And it's people just need to do their own research. Again, going back to where we started at, you have an experience, even if you haven't, hey, you know what, do your own investigation on life, for crying out loud, and yourself, and come to that conclusion, and don't let anybody else tell you one way or the other on how you should feel about yourself, think, do any of the sort. You know, take back your free will. Take back your free will.
One of the most powerful questions I was ever asked
Mm,
by a group of men, they were all men. There
mm,
was like 4 mm, there was like 4 or 5 of them, and they were in a position of authority, that's all I'll say. They said to me, "Give me your best argument that UFOs are real." These people were in a position of authority, and said to them, "Listen, wish it was one of those moments where I wish I would have recorded it because it was so perfect."
mm.
Comes down to is this: you can never convince another human being that extraterrestrial life is real. I can never convince them that my experiences were real. Instead, I'm going to ask some questions. We are all crazy. Why is it that the psychiatric community has not labeled us with certain psychiatric disorders? Why is it that if millions and millions and more millions all the time having these experiences, and nobody from those positions of authority are researching why these things are happening to us. There's not a stitch of research on this by any formal authority out there. And then, big one, why are they literally taking those people, grouping them together, trying to make them look crazy without any evidence whatsoever? Ask yourself, why is it that people who have had extraterrestrial contact, whether it was seeing a craft, seeing an orb, physical orb, not on pictures and stuff like that, but seeing a physical orb, abducted, taken at night or whenever, taken in all the different forms that they've come in. Why is it that all of these people, after the experience, become fixated on being of service to others, to the planet, to nature, and to life itself? Why? That is the biggest part of the entire phenomenon. So if you are not asking those questions, why are these people having these experiences? How are they being affected? Because all of us are focused on humanity and the earth and life itself,
Mhm.
on protecting life in a peaceful, completely peaceful way that is not pushy and forthright, but rather in a loving and caring way. It
Right.
is it is contactees that can look into vast amounts of chaos like we've just experienced on the planet and ask ourselves the truth of anyone, any situation, anything from a heart-centered place or a relatively heart-centered place. Because again, even contactees, we can't turn around and say that they're all like this, but we look at it with a view of what is right and what is wrong. It becomes back into this almost morality that is built inside of us. Contactees, abductees, they get morality put inside of them, the moral aspect of what is right and what is wrong and who has done what to whom becomes the questions that we ask in order to have that balanced answer and that balanced reaction to whatever it is that was shared with us. And this is a powerful moment in our history as human beings because of what we've gone through in the last several years, because of what we are currently going through all over the entire planet. The pain that humanity is feeling and expressing is actually about the fact that they're turning to a more moral sense of who they are. And this moral sense is what these extraterrestrials have been sharing with humanity since the very beginning. And these extraterrestrials have been sharing with people like myself, contactees, abductees, whatever you want to call me, I don't care. Someone who's had an experience, but I've had a physical contact, not
Mhm.
all contactees and abductees. I mean, even then,
Sure.
not all of them are physical contacts. So this is the conversation, and when I'm hearing the 3 of you speaking, and you're all contactees, and all 3 of us have had our private conversations prior to this interview, the one thing is about the heart, the morality, the
Mhm.
spirituality, the connection, the being in service, the love, the honor, the depth of question, the depth of wondering, the depth of looking at what it is and who we are and where we're going. The question always becomes, how can I serve? That's the number one question a true contactee asks every single day. And it's not about how do I serve by getting online? How do I serve by writing a book? How do I serve by having an event, which I'll be doing soon? How do I serve by, this? It is about you wake up in the morning and you see an elder trying to get open a door and you go and help. That's how you serve. And I'm very, very, very passionate about this, and it's so hard on me because people say, "How do I serve?" And it's like, be good. Be be good to each other and stop
Everything.
judging each other because the judgment in the beginning, the question, is this group good? Is that group bad? And I said, listen, We come in all shapes and sizes and all colors, all, different backgrounds, all different historical histories, families, cultures, belief systems, everything that we've had, but we are all part of a human family. And instead of walking into a certain group of people and saying, "This is what the reaction's gonna be," I have to ask, what is the human being that's sitting in front of me? Because I have literally, and this is part of the conversation about the extraterrestrials, this is the biggest connection to my story, my personal experience, is that when I walk into a situation, like when I was in Kenya, okay, and I spent 2 weeks in the largest urban slum in all of Africa called Kibera, and I have to tell you something. You ever go to Kenya? Go to Kibera, just don't go at night. But go to Kibera, stay on the main streets. It is the people there, I mean, they are the most loving, caring, beautiful, happy, beautiful people you can imagine. And people were terrified that I was gonna go there, especially as a white woman, right?
Right.
It's like, "What?" I had someone look at me and they're, and they said, "Were you afraid to go there?" And I said, "Um, why?" Right?
Right.
People do not wake up in the morning. They're not born to say, "I hate."
That's right.
They're not born to say, "I hate." They're not born to say, "I hate you."
Mhm.
They don't people are not waking up in the morning and saying, "You know what? I think I'm gonna." Yeah. When I was little, the one thing I wanted to be was a gang member. They didn't get that when they were kids.
Right.
They either got that later in life because they were thrust into it because of some external events or to survive.
Yep.
Everything has been conditioning, preparing, preparation, stepping stones. So when people say, "What do you wanna do with the world and how do you wanna do it?" Now I'm on the soapbox, by the way, Jonathan.
You're the guest. You're the guest.
The extraterrestrials teach how to walk through the chaos and to understand that, and this is the big part of the message, really. The big message is about how we are one family. We are connected to
Mhm.
each other. And then human family connection to the other dimensional worlds, to the other worlds, to the other beings, and to the God creator itself. So we are all created equal. We are all created equal. What happens in our history determines and creates who we become. But here's the best part: every morning, every day, and every second of our lives, we have an opportunity to, quote, choose who we are, what we stand for, what we believe, how we react. We are given an opportunity to choose to look at things from a place of from our heart. And that is really the essence of what these extraterrestrials gave, is this understanding of the physics and the energy and how to work with that, understanding how to walk through chaos, understanding how to perceive the world in a way so that you're actually gaining knowledge of yourself and who you are and what your purpose is. And this is the gift of that they give to the planet. And this is the gift that the three of you came together, you found each other,
Mhm.
and you connected on this level of knowingness.
Mhm.
It's a knowing.
It is.
And once you find the knowing and you understand and recognize that knowing, everything in life changes. And it can change in an instant. And that knowing is what people seek. And there are some people who may never find it their whole lives. And that's very unfortunate. There's things that they can do in order to get to that point of knowing. And one of the ways of doing that is to stop looking into the world, seeing a group here and a group there, and this an individual, they, what is their history? What are they trying to tell me?
Mhm.
What are they trying to tell me? And that we are all connected. That is the story here.
Yeah, we're all connected. Everything's connected. I know that, we talked about the experiencer starts looking at things differently after the experience and starts taking life as being so much more precious. And for me personally, that extended to the creatures that we normally don't really pay that much attention to. I was at work and I was walking by a wash basin, washing my hands before I went on break. And I looked down in the wash basin and there's a cicada and it's drowning. It's harmless, as most insects are. And I picked it up and I was walking down the hall going outside with it. And a coworker, and I don't work with them side by side, but a coworker said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, the cicada was drowning and I'm going to put it outside." "Well, why not just let it drown?" I looked at her and I said, "It's life. And if you were small and you were drowning and a higher intelligence being or even a giant came walking by, wouldn't you want them to pick you up out of the water and stop you from drowning?" Caretaker. We are meant to be caretakers.
Mhm.
I agree with you. Years ago, there was a post on TikTok, wherever, doesn't matter, where there's this concrete bench and a concrete statue of a little girl holding a concrete bird was this bench, right? The little bird was in her hands. Because that's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be caretakers of this planet, right? This real bird sees the statue, flies down to the bench, hops up into the little girl's lap, and dies. That hit me so hard because that's what we're supposed to be. And we're supposed to be that way to each other. How hard is it to realize this? Is because of the static of hatred and fear that gets pumped into us all the time. That little bird knew instinctively that human was supposed to take care of it. I can't think of a more beautiful thing, extraterrestrials or not, people, than that message that creature, that life, that part of the universe was trying to tell us all. And that happens so often without anybody there to record it. Just thankfully, this time did. So there are, and that extends macrocosm, microcosm. So there are other entity beings out there, whether they be physical reality, whether they be interdimensional, that may look at us like that cicada that's drowning, that tries to give us a second chance at life to create these different worlds, right? And say, okay, here's the next one. Here's the next one. Now, is that cicada going to go find another cicada and say, "You wouldn't believe it. I was drowning and this giant picked me up and put me on the ground." And they, if they did, which who knows, I don't speak cicada. Maybe the other cicadas might have been like, "You're out of your gourd, man. You've been smoking and eating too much of that stuff that was in the ground and all that jazz." But just the point is why not take care of everything? What so wrong could it be if we just take care of each other? What a lot of these beings, these entities, as I call them, are trying, as you were saying, to say, this is what you're supposed to do. We wouldn't have to worry about all these prophecies and all that stuff if we just learn to take care of each other and their environment and everything else. And I know that sounds hippy dippy to a lot of people, but how could you go wrong doing it? Can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Realize. So why don't we just all agree? And I know it's difficult to agree on everything, but why don't we just all agree to just try it for a while? Try it
Right.
for a decade or two. And I guarantee you, we'd probably up our chances of having disclosure at that point in time too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
disclosure is not going to happen.
Well, let's go ahead and I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and
Yeah.
pass it on now.
Before we do, I wanted to bring up something important before I forget because it was something uh, you brought up, Miriam, and I'm glad you did. That why is it that these contactees contact have this inherent connection and they start to change morally and a lot of other ways. And there was a contactee who visited, and out of fear, he brought his gun, his hunting rifle. And then the being presented itself before him, and he got so scared he dropped the gun and gave up. And he says, you got me. And he said, in that moment, the being had telepathically communicated to him the importance and the understanding and the interconnectedness of all things and all life. And he started crying, and he felt shame because he had been a hunter for most of his life. And he's like, how could I do this? How could I harm another living being? And to this day, he's like, now I won't even kill a bug with that kind of understanding. Like, I understand now. I was blind before, now I see. And that leads to the question, because these beings are bringing up all of this stuff, is
Mhm.
that, and you brought this up before, is that you've asked them personally if they were God. And I was hoping you could share that answer briefly before we go into that next topic.
So, on the craft with them in 1988, giving me all of this information about being connected together, right? And the history of humanity in our evolution over time and the physical planet, but how our spirits were created, that as well. They gave me all of that understanding of how it all works. And them and I said, "Are you tell me?" And I said, "Are you God?" Because only God, the concept of God, the God, the creator that created everything and that built everything, and only God could have made this in that human concept, right? And I said, "Are you God?" And they said, "No, we seek to know God the same as you, but we never with you concept of God because so much further beyond what it is that you're capable of understanding." So they serve God. These beings that I have contact with serve a a higher power than even them, right? And so they watch over the earth. These beings watch over the earth, the ones that I had contact with, to ensure that the planet will survive, humanity will survive, it is not destroyed. That's what they're here for. They're to help seed the planet it's of and many ways in which that happens. It has to do with the people that are being contacted and having their ability to share that knowledge of the universe is working with that energy and sharing that energy and creating that change by being in service to others and being in service to the earth itself. So there's a lot of question about who these beings are. And it really saddens me because I see a lot of very religious people who are Christians, for example, saying that they're the devil, that it's fallen angels, and that this is they're satanic and this sort of thing. And I understand what they're saying, and I understand their reason, even from that biblical point of view. But the knowledge that I have, there is no way that they are, quote, evil. Not the ones that I have contact with. So much energetically and literally physically that if they were evil, they could destroy us and just take over the earth. And that's not what this is about. So it's a very big topic that is often debated by different people. There's a lot of conversation that's taken place over the years about that, and I've been accused of um, being the devil myself, and I've had death threats from it, and all sorts of things. So these are the realities of coming into the public. So when someone says that I'm just here to, to create attention, I understand. And anyone that would come out and say something like this in the public, uh, they'd have to sort of, you have to understand what type of backlash and ridicule happens as a result of that. and how difficult life becomes as a result of that. So we're working through that as a species and a planet. I can tell you that even from 5 6 years ago, there's a massive shift in awareness and understanding that there is something to this phenomenon by from normies, which means the everyday people. Okay, so to clean up that terminology, everyday people that maybe not involved in this type of that don't go researching it and don't get into it, even for them, there's a curiosity that's building. And what does that mean? Loss of disclosure. So you can't have them turn around and show up all of a sudden one day out of the blue. It's not going to happen. It's a process, and we've been in it for a very long time. And just take a moment, just take a moment and go back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50, 60 years, and ask yourself, is disclosure happening? Of course it is. It's happening over time, and it will continue to. But humanity is not ready for them to come and, you know, land all over the planet and walk amongst us. That's not going to happen. Not right now.
I agree. I think it is a process, and something I brought up with other people, other contactees, is that I'm doing this for a while, so it's just I'm sure they know how to do it, the right way, and what doesn't work, So, and from my perspective, this makes sense. They even have Star Trek episodes, and I know it's Star Trek, but as where they're interacting with a species that's just underdeveloped mentally, spiritually, all that stuff, and the implications would be if it happens too quickly, the fear that ramps up with certain people, not everyone, of course, but it just takes a while and you do it over time of disseminating information, get people used to the idea, and then you take baby steps. And then eventually it will come. And I think that what we're doing right now is happens because I don't think it's going to come from governments telling the people, "Hey, yeah, we've lied to you for the past 70 years." It's going to come from individuals and even from people who were once normies having their own experiences. And like you mentioned before, and like I tell people, is that once you have an experience, nobody can take that away from you. You
Ever.
know, nope, it's real, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says about it.
To the subject of what you were talking about of the service, like the contact with the ETs, they kind of changes your perspective on like service to all. Experience I had, and I've shared this with the others, but an event that apparently remote viewers had viewed like just down the road or something like that, of like a big happening where there was craft coming in, getting people out of like a disaster or something was happening. This was being talked about on YouTube, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So, there were mantis beings. They were like getting humans on craft, and they were helping them on. And, so I heard this, and then I was going about, later. I think it was like a few weeks later, but I was thinking about it. I was thinking about the scenario, and I was like, that's really interesting. And then it was weird because, they can come in through different experiences or just your thought processes. And so in my mind, I'm just picturing like the people going on the UFO, right, on the craft, and just being turns to me and he goes, "Would you be the first one on, or would you be of service?" Service, as in like if you had to
Mhm.
get everyone out of this situation, would you stay?
Hey,
Like
yeah,
what level of commitment you would do to the service of all?
yeah.
And that was kind of the question that stuck with me. It like struck me really strongly, and I was just like, what the heck was this? And because it definitely they're like all these experiences, they flood into understanding that we are all in connection, we're all in service of others and stuff, as you understand this broad connection of consciousness and life and being caretakers and stuff. And there's this responsibility that you become aware of once you have this different points of
Mhm.
contact. I just wanted to share that really quick, but yeah.
That what you're really talking about is illustration or experience that was shared with you to assist you in understanding your role. Maybe not necessarily an actual moment that will come into your life at any point in time, but
Right.
rather the question in a very profound way. Are you going to do the are you for yourself or are you here in service?
Mm.
Because ultimately that's what we're here for, is to be in service.
Right.
And people think that being in service is something grand and big, and it's not. A lot of people, contactees, think that they are, when they want to be in service, they're talking about masses of people. Well, being in service is opening the door for the elder, about time to be able to do things for different people around themselves and who it is that they are, because ultimately we forget to be in service, and I see it every day. I mean, one of the things that I met some people that I didn't know recently, and we had a very, very, very profound conversation. And what they took away from it, one of the people came back and gave me feedback, and they said, "Yeah," they all said that you have a huge heart. Heart is the morality that we talked about earlier. That's where a lot of this comes from. So the heart and morality and having that moral compass tells us whether or not we are in service to others or in service to ourselves. This disconnect of misunderstanding about what being in service actually is. It is not a grandiose that someone takes. Being in service to others is to be a good person, to not judge someone, or to try not to judge, because even, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to have some level of judgment, and to give each person that you meet an opportunity to show them who they are. That is being in service. It is about being present. That's being in service. About working with that energy and allowing those energies to flow through you. That's being in service. So there's a million different ways of being in service to others that people are just simply not aware of. Because, for example, with myself, I work with all these different people all over the world. I have a nonprofit that I've started. Oh, look at her. She's in service. I want to do that. No, why? I work all the time. I'm super busy. No, that's not for everyone. Everyone's being in service to others and to the earth is very different. And for some, it's leading a good life and just, being kind to people when you can, if you can, and how you can. Different ways of doing it. You can do it physically or with a word or open a door or carry a bag or give someone a ride. Multitude of ways of being in service. And there's this programming that's been put into people that unless you do something grand and it's all in the public and you're doing that, you're not in service. And that's not true. So the tension between person and service and not having that value for your own life, that's the real issue. And in terms of how it connects to the quote extraterrestrials, is that these beings assist humanity. And from what I see from all of the contactees that I've had the privilege of being able to speak with over the years, is that we have an understanding that our life is not only our own. It is partially ours, meaning we interact with other people, that's part of their life. We're giving them something. So, what is it that we're giving them? Now, again, do not make the mistake of thinking that we have to be perfect because, hey, guess what? Nobody's perfect. Certainly not me. I have a temper. I can get very mad and angry and upset and have meltdowns every once in a while over work. I mean, we are all there. Raise your hand if you're all there,
Oh, yeah.
okay? Oh, yeah. So what does that mean? We are human.
That's right.
So we are humans having an extraordinary experience. We happen to understand the concepts of connection between all things a little bit more than maybe the average person over here. We have the ability to understand a little bit more about what being in service actually means. And that is the true message of these beings. So when people are trying to extract from me knowledge, about trying to, find out, and there's nothing wrong with asking, find out what's the prophecies of this group or that group, or what does this mean? It's actually the most irrelevant part. It's the part, it's the understanding of what your role is that they gift all of us, and then we're carrying that into the world. And it's extraordinary because 36 years ago I said one day all of humanity will realize that every single thing in their lives is directly related to extraterrestrials, and that's where we're going. So you want to talk about disclosure?
Mhm.
Even if they landed in 180 countries, 186 countries around the world, they all walked off their crafts, is that going to be disclosure? Heck no. That's not disclosure. Disclosure is the knowledge that they have.
Mhm.
That is disclosure, is where we are going. And that's the discussion we are having today. So that for me, in our conversation that we've had, that's a great wrapping point. Disclosure, extraterrestrial contact, who we are, why we're here, what we are meant to do, about knowledge, the spiritual understanding of that energy that is connected to everyone, and how human beings are connected to one another, how that works, what that looks like. And remembering this, that the most powerful, extraordinary technology on earth is a human being that is in
Huh.
full control. If you can get control over your own self, your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, you are the most powerful piece of technology on earth today, hands down. And I have had experience after experience after experience with this. I can tell you that the things that have happened around myself have been extraordinary in this regard. For example, the rains come and follow me wherever I was in Namibia, visions of things that could happen, and then warning people and giving them the opportunity to choose their path, right? That's like the prophecies. It's giving us a choice. Here's the marker. Now choose. Choose where you want to go. This just helps you to choose and know where you are on the path, right?
Right.
So these are the things that, if we understand the spiritual and physical and physics of it and the energy of it, then is when we have disclosure. Because it's not disclosure of a UFO, because that's something physical. It's disclosure of what these beings know and why it's being restricted from us. And the question I would ask is, are you sure that it's being held back from you intentionally by human beings, or is it being held back because they said no? Question that people need to ask. And for me, I would like to, wrap up on that point to give people thought. Say, is this one of the things to ask the question? Because it is never, almost never, in the answer that we find. Always find the right question to ask, and that gives us the knowledge that we're seeking. And when it comes to this genre, it's that's the really important part of this, is what questions are you asking, and are you asking the right questions? Because all I see is a maze of stories out there, not making the connections of these things for the individuals, and this is where we need to go.
Agreed. So there's great wrap up there, Miriam. Thank you so much. And I think that that's a question that we should all really seriously start pondering. A lot of times you'll find the answer in the question itself. And so that's amazing. Thank you, guys. Great, great interview. Myself personally, Miriam personally, while the guys can finish off what they have to say, I want to say thank you so much for spending your time with me and the rest of us. It was a very mind expanding, consciousness expanding interview. And I do hope that this again in the future. I really do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time with us. Thank you for responding so promptly to when I reached out to you. And that's exactly why I felt like I had to reach out to you. So it allowed me and everything I found to be my truth and research and introspection as well. Ask you really quick, I'll find you.
Be great if people wanted to reach out to me to go to bluestarprophecy.com, my website. And when you get there, if you sign up for my newsletter, you will get a free copy of my book, Blue Star Fulfilling Prophecy, that I wrote back in 2007. You get sent a copy, PDF copy. So you get that free download. And here's the best part, an invitation to send in your questions. So every week in my newsletter, I'm answering one or two of your questions, and it's fantastic. I love hearing from people. So hopefully they'll come and check that out, bluestarprophecy.com.
Perfect. And I'll also put that on the screen here, and I'll also put a direct link in the description below.
Miriam, so much for joining us today. It's been a very enlightening conversation. And again, thank you for our talk off camera and everything. That was very impactful. And I really appreciate all the time that you've been able to give to us. And it's always, it's just part of doing this podcast and, interacting with so many experiencers. It's always refreshing and great to have these conversations where you have that, like, just that knowing going back and forth and that connection, because you're just like, yes, just like it's so exciting time. It's so exciting for all of us to have these experiences and just, yeah, like you said, like John, like check mark off of like, oh yeah, no, we're not crazy. This is awesome. For being a part of the process with connection with our, star brothers and sisters. So again, thank you so much for sharing all your insight.
Well, thank you to all of you for having me. I do hope that you continue to grow and expand your watching, and that you continue to bring this really important message of the spiritual side to the public. And just thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Like, share, subscribe, and we'll be doing a giveaway as well. Screenshot of subscribing to Miriam's newsletter and also subscribing to the channel. Then you'll get a free copy of the hard copy. So I will be providing that to one lucky winner.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful day. Bad monkey.